Hello. Earth 2, in the know, is glad you are here. Today we want to talk to you about civilians. Yes, we have discussed the civilian marketplace, but let's take a deep dive into what they are and how they work. In May of 2023, the Earth 2 team released the Civilians XP Plus Raid Commander targeting system. That said, upon release, the Civilian system was a huge success and loved by players as we needed some much-deserved time off from manual raiding. They were quoted as saying, "These new systems are deep and intricate, and I'd like to take a moment to thank our B developers, FA developers, game designers, QA, UI, UX team and others who have managed to design the mechanics, design the interface, implement the back-end, code and connect the front-end and run initial quality assurance checks, all in a record time considering how complicated these new additional expansions are and how they needed to be merged into the original concept," said Shane Isaac, founder of Earth 2. The newly introduced game mechanics help form a more robust game loop, reward players who progress with better skilled and better functioning civilians, allow raid commanders to target multiple properties, introduce an early version of the sustenance concept which ties back to direct player activity, provides new strategic play, and very importantly, it allowed us to create, design and develop systems that we can test for planned adoption in other parts of the ecosystem. Civilians XP System. While Civilians will help players manage their properties and tasks inside Earth 2, improving Civilians' abilities will require more than ETH and red energy to synthesize and sustain them. This is where the new Civilians XP system will come in handy. The Civilians XP system will allow players to level up their civilians, boosting productivity and obtaining new skills through hands-on experience. The first Civilians, which will assist players to execute their raiding activities, will gain XP from successful raids when ETH is dispensed on that property. Initially, every 0.01 ETH dispensed will equate to 1 XP. It takes a team effort between the Civilians to charge, raid and dispense. Therefore, the XP is evenly split between however many Civilians players have dedicated to their raiding system for each specific property. If a player has 3 Civilians on one property and that property dispenses 3 ETH, that would equate to 300 XP, with each Civilian receiving 100 XP. Players will be able to check their Civilians' XP level by following the video's next steps. Go to the Civilians tab to see all Civilians. Select a civilian from the list to see their civilian info. The current XP details can be found under the civilian image, including which level the civilian is on currently and how much XP is required to reach the next level. To improve civilian XP through automated tasks, ensure the civilian is active. Players are able to adjust the civilian's active tasks, depending on the civilian, by going to the Civilian Ability tab and editing their current tasks. It is important to note that players can gain XP for their civilians even when raiding manually, effectively teaching any civilians they have on that property by executing the task themselves. For example, if a level 1 ETH reckoner is due to start dispensing in 120 minutes, players can manually press the dispense button earlier, speeding up the process without losing any XP points. Raid Commander Target System. The Raid Commander has the unique ability to target properties and automatically launch raids for a player. Players are able to not only select which properties to auto-raid, but they can easily adjust which properties are targeted by adding or removing favorite icon types to the auto-raid target icon interface. There are 2 prerequisites before a property can be auto-targeted by the Raid Commander. The target property must have been manually raided at least once from the launching property and appear in the recent list of raided properties. The target property must have a favorite icon assigned to it, and that favorite icon must be added to the auto-raid target icon interface. Most active raiders have developed their own system using the existing favorite icons to determine the best to worst properties to raid from their launch properties. The raid commander's auto-targeting system allows players to then set one or more favorite icons on the new auto-raid targeting interface. By adding or removing favorite icons from this interface, players can determine which properties their raid commander should focus on launching auto-raids to. Each property will have its own unique auto-raid target icon interface, enabling players to customize and set different auto-raid target icons for each property they own. For example, a player may focus on raiding bluebirds, green trees and red cherries from one property or just bluebirds from another. What's more, if a player has selected the bluebird and green tree icon with a level 1 raid commander, the raid commander will find the most recent bluebird or green tree icon from the recent list and continue raiding and re-raiding that property. If the player has a level 2 raid commander, then it will find the second most recent bluebird or green tree icon from the recent list and raid that property, meaning it will alternate between raiding 2 different properties as opposed to one, because the second most recent will keep renewing, resulting in a new property taking its position on the recent list each time an auto-raid occurs. This dynamic targeting system will allow players to refocus their raid commander on different groups of target properties quickly and effectively. They designed this system instead of a numerically assigned target system, which would have resulted in players needing to manually set static lists that would require granular, individual property adjustments if raid success rates changed. Though the unique targeting system may take a little longer to understand, they are confident it will better streamline the auto-raiding function and require less granular adjustments by the player in the long run. Players will be able to set up auto-raiding using the raid commander by using the following steps. Look for the auto-target properties for raid commander, text and press the accompanying edit button. This will be accessible via the existing raid interface and the new civilian interface. When Edit is selected, players will be presented with the auto-raid target icon interface, which will allow them to set the favorite icons they want their raid commander to target or ignore for the selected property. This auto-raid list is determined by the target icons the player has chosen, so a player can always visualize the results of their target icon selections. Note that in order for a raid commander to auto-raid a target property, that property must have already been raided at least once manually, have a favorite icon applied, and the favorite icon must be set as a targeted icon. Synthesizing civilians. To begin, players will be able to synthesize 3 civilians on properties of 4 tiles or larger. Each civilian will require 25 ETH and 4 red energy units to be fully synthesized. Each civilian will require an ongoing 4 red energy units per week to sustain them, an increase from 1 red energy unit as previously stated. Only one civilian can be synthesized at a time, the first civilian being the ETH Reckoner, Dispenser, the second the Sidroid Technician, Recharger, and the third civilian that can be synthesized is the Raid Commander. The ETH Reckoner will also have the ability to choose between automatically dispensing any ETH stored as soon as it returns back from a raid, or to wait until the storage is full before dispensing. It can also abort a Sidroid dispensing from level 5 in case that Sidroid is potentially needed in sudden scenarios that could occur in the future. To synthesize a civilian, go to Civilian Management and select the Properties tab. Select the property and then initiate synthesis. Player may select 1-3 civilians for synthesis per property, initially. Civilians may be synthesized one at a time, or if a player is sure they want to synthesize all 3, 3 can be scheduled for synthesization, which will automatically cause the next civilian to start synthesizing once its predecessor has finished. The civilians that are synthesized unlock a set order of abilities. Therefore, if players need a raid commander on their property, they will need to synthesize the first 2 civilians first. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the metaverse. If you found this video useful, please feel free to like and subscribe.